I took a job. Now I'm mated to the Mafia Don's son. Screw me sideways with a rusted bayonet, I cursed, flat on the concrete floor, head pounding, like someone had used my skull to tune a drum. Everything hurt. My ribs, my back, even the inside of my damn eyelids. Judging from the position of the sun through one of the holes in the warehouse, I had been out of it all night. What the hell happened? Took me a full minute to remember how to stand, another to realize where I was. Warehouse, East End. Dim lights, broken shelving, the unmistakable stench of blood, gunpowder, and burnt ozone. And then I saw him. Francesco Bianchi, slumped against the far pillar. Dead. Neck at a bad angle, eyes glassy and mouth slightly ajar. You tend to wind up like that when you cross the Giannetti Don. I limped over, yanked my dagger out of the holster at my ankle, and with one smooth motion sliced through his ring finger. The antique gold ring slipped off and I pocketed. It was proof that the assignment was complete. Now I just need to figure out where I parked my bike and be on my merry way. The warehouse door groaned. I spun, hand already on my gun. In walked a tall figure. Sweatpants, hoodie. Hair a mess like he just rolled out of bed. And a brown paper bag of takeout swinging from his hand like we were on a bloody picnic. He stopped dead in his tracks and blinked. Wow, you look like you lost a bar fight. With a truck. My finger twitched against the trigger. You've got a death wish, kid? He just smiled, completely unfazed. Nah, I've got dumplings. And 2 sets of chopsticks. So technically, I've got a date. I cursed again, louder this time, because the memories hit like a freight train, and threatened to throw my brain back in the blender. I knew this man. No, not entirely. I think I met him last night. But why did he feel so bloody familiar? I aimed my gun at his heart. You shouldn't be here, I warned. The figure just shrugged and kept walking in. You said that last night too, right before I kicked the shit out of you. He didn't flinch when I cocked the gun. Just dropped the takeout on the nearest crate and started digging around like we were roommates and this was Tuesday. I watched him warily. He looked different in the daylight. Or, well, warehouse daylight. Big shoulders, soft jaw. That casual smugness only people with nothing to prove carried. You don't remember me, he said, voice low, not accusing, just amused. I remember your foot in my ribs. He chuckled. You're welcome. You were about to kill my patient. I did kill your patient. He turned and finally looked at the corpse, like it had only just occurred to him someone was dead in here. Huh. He popped open the takeout. There goes the other half of my pay. I blinked. You're joking. You're actually joking. He offered me a dumpling. I stared. He wiggled the chopsticks. Come on, you look like shit. I figured the least I could do after you got your ass handed to you was feed you. I didn't. I shut my mouth, holstered the gun, and walked away before I said something worse. Like thank you. Because unfortunately, he wasn't wrong. My body was a mess. I perched on a metal drum and lit a cigarette despite my aching ribs. Who the hell are you? I asked finally. He didn't answer right away. Just chewed thoroughly, then wiped his fingers on his hoodie. You've got bigger problems than who I am, he said. I allowed the tobacco to work its magic for a full second before asking what the hell he meant by that. All I'm saying is, unless you know a miracle worker, you and I, my friend, we're both dead men. I didn't like the finality of his tone, so I did the only thing I could in uncomfortable situations like this. I pulled my gun on him again. You're going to want to start explaining, Doc, before I lose what's left of my patience. He swallowed another dumpling with visible effort before replying. Which part? The dead guy, the nodding, or the part where I'm pretty sure I accidentally marked you? I choked on my cigarette. Nodding? He nodded vigorously. You're not funny, I growled, but immediately my neck began to throb in protest, and my memories came rushing in. Flashback, 1 day ago. It started off like any other day, really. I had just beaten the fear of God into some unlucky sap that owed the Don a lot of money. I was halfway into recounting the details of the assignment when Don Giannetti uttered the words that set off the chain of unfortunate events. "Rest, Kai," the Don said, like I was some delicate housewife with a fever. "You've been working too hard. Refill your suppressants. Lay low for a while." "Right, because what I needed was to be put in a timeout like a friggin' toddler." "Still, when the Giannetti patriarch gives you an order, you don't argue. You smile, you nod, you pretend the order was gospel." But me being me, I had to strike one more name off my list before considering sipping cocktails in the Bahamas. Naturally, that's where I went wrong. The target I was gunning for was a pain in everyone's ass. Ambassador Francisco Bianchi. A gambling junkie with diplomatic immunity and just enough charm to make senators laugh over wine while bankrupting their wives. He'd been dodging our collectors for years, hiding behind embassies and flags and luxury flights to nowhere. But then the idiot came back to Italy, which meant he was mine. The Giannetti family didn't want repayment anymore. They wanted closure, preferably in the form of a funeral. I checked my holster. Dagger in place, gun loaded, suppression pills low, but manageable. Then Gigi's voice buzzed through the comms in my ear. "Warehouse at Via Ravello 14, 3rd District. Looks like our boy's renting space from a black market med distributor. I'd say be careful, but you don't listen anyway." Touching. Got eyes inside? I had eyes, then the signal jammed. Probably lead-lined walls or some old-school mobster shit. You're flying blind. Wouldn't be the first time. You say that like you're not one head injury away from naming your knife. I did name my knife. "You worry me," she muttered before ending the transmission. Gigi, formerly known as Gisella Giannetti, was the family's guardian angel. Or as Don Giannetti liked to call her, his eyes in the sky. She was his niece and resident tech whiz. Gigi oversaw and handled logistics on pretty much all of the family's operations, but no one outside the Don had seen her in person. She and I had been working together for over 10 years, and whether or not you think it's sad, she was the closest thing I had to a friend. The warehouse was easy enough to get to and get into. No guards or cameras. Just one barely working generator humming like a drunk radiator in the corner. Then I found him. Ambassador Bianchi. Slumped in a rusted gurney, hooked up to an IV drip and some Frankenstein monitors. He looked more like a failed cryo experiment than a man with debt. His heartbeat was steady, though. Too steady. Whatever cocktail they were pumping him with, it was keeping him alive when I needed him very much not to be. I drew my dagger and moved in for a quick disposal. But then, the air shifted. A soft shuffle behind me. I turned. Too slow. The punch knocked the breath out of my lungs and the dagger out of my hand. I hit the ground, rolled, came up swinging, and that's when I saw him. Tall, lab coat, dark hair pulled into a loose ponytail, bare forearms. "You need to leave!" he snapped. I laughed and threw the first kick. He dodged, then countered like he'd been waiting his whole life for someone to try him. I don't know how long we fought. Minutes, hours, eternity maybe. He wasn't just good. He was trained. Maybe not in the same ways I was, but he held his own. Close combat, grapples, precision strikes that told me he'd studied anatomy for more than just his college degree. Eventually I slammed him into a steel support beam hard enough to rattle his ancestors. He hit the floor like a sack of bricks. Didn't move. Didn't twitch. I stood over him, panting. "You're lucky I like doctors," I muttered, kicking his wrist away from the scalpel he'd dropped. 15 minutes later, I had a new problem. Because when I called Gigi for her facial recognition on Dr. Punch Happy, she came back with silence. "You're kidding me, Gigi." "Nope. I even used the good algorithm." "You mean the one you stole from Interpol?" "That's the one. And mind you, the term is indefinitely borrowing." "I need a name, Gigi." "Kai, I crack government archives and eat cereal in the same breath. So believe me when I tell you, this guy doesn't exist." That wasn't just rare. It was impossible. Either way, he was no longer just a nuisance. He was a person of interest. I bound his wrist in reinforced chain, bolted to a structural pipe in the warehouse. Then I waited. Our mystery man sat up too fast, rattled the chains, looked down at his restrained hands, and immediately began to panic. No, shit! His breathing hitched. You can't do this! You attack a Giannetti collector and expect brunch? I crouched beside him. Talk. Who sent you? I'm not... You don't understand, he said, voice rising. You have to let me go before... Before what, exactly? I growled. Before your friends arrive? Before your cartel shows up? Who exactly are you working for? No one! I'm not with anyone! He jerked at the cuffs again. You need to leave. Now! It's not safe here! He wasn't faking the panic. His whole body was trembling, eyes darting to the corners of the warehouse like he expected something to come crawling out. Kai? Gigi chimed in my ear. If this dude is playing the long game, he's doing a great impression of a chihuahua in a thunderstorm. Not helping, Gigi. I could try running a blood sample through off-grid registries. You know, just in case he's, I don't know, a lab-grown war criminal. I said not helping. I looked back at him. Sweat was pouring down his temples, pupils dilating, pulse kicking into overdrive. He was muttering something now. Low, repetitive. I stepped closer, and then the chains snapped. I didn't even have time to blink before he lunged. 1 second I was crouching, next I was flat on my back, ribs howling, his body caging mine with terrifying ease. When I looked up, and everything stopped. His eyes. They weren't brown anymore. They were black. Not just dark, pitch black. No light, no depth. Just ink pool pupils spreading wide and endless across the whites like some ancient thing had decided to wake up behind his face. And the moment I stared into them, really stared, something inside me sparked, then burned. It started in my gut, a flicker, barely a spark. Then it began to spread. A heat, low and hot and wrong. It crawled up my spine, wrapped around my ribs, then settled low between my hips with a molten ache I hadn't felt in years. I knew that feeling. I'd buried it beneath pills and protocol and 26 years of pretending to be something I wasn't. But now it was here, rising like a tide I couldn't stop. My scent suppressants started to fail. I could feel it. The chemical grip of the meds burned away like paper, bending beneath the presence of this alpha like it was hardwired into my bloodstream. I bit the inside of my cheek to stay present, because I could feel it. The old urge. Submissive, desperate, needy. Fighting to the surface like a scream in my chest. And all from staring into this man's possessed, void dark eyes. Who the hell was he? My hips bucked involuntarily as the smell of him, clean sweat, electric ozone, something old and wild, wrapped around my senses like a goddamn leash. No one had ever done this to me. Not like this. Not even close. I hated it. In a bid for control, our fists collided. Teeth snapped. We slammed into crates, knocked over metal racks. I struck him across the jaw with my elbow. He grabbed my wrist and slammed me into the wall, mouth inches from mine. His breath hit my face. Hot. Hungry. I snarled, feral. Don't you fucking dare! But he kissed me. Or maybe I kissed him. Didn't matter. It was brutal. Teeth clicked, lips split. My back hit the wall again, and his body pressed into mine. I bit his lip, hard enough to taste blood. He growled. Something in me whimpered. My brain screamed to stop. It was the whole reason I'd been on those damn suppressants, to ensure I didn't end up becoming a slave to biology. But right here in this moment, it was all rendered moot. My senses spun. His scent was everywhere. My senses spun. His scent was everywhere, punching through the haze, making my chest thrum and my knees shake. I felt myself slipping, molecule by molecule, my Omega self rising to the surface, unchained, hungry, burning. I wasn't me anymore, and I didn't care. He shoved me onto the concrete, and I dragged him down with me. We tore at each other like animals. My jacket ripped. His shirt was already gone. His hands gripped my hips, possessive. My claws. Fuck, when did I even let them come out? Scraped lines down his spine. My body ached. For him. For the claim. For completion. I barely had the words in my head when he grabbed my jaw, forced my neck to bare. "No," I rasped. "Don't you!" His fangs sunk into the side of my throat. Agony. Pleasure. White-hot, soul-bending overload. I arched beneath him with a scream I didn't recognize. The mark. His mark. Seared into my flesh like fire, claiming me. Tethering me. Flashback ends. I kept my gun level with his chest, rage simmering just beneath my skin. "You move," I growled, "and I turn your lungs into fucking soup." He raised a brow. "You always this romantic in the morning?" I ignored him. My free hand went for my phone. Nothing. "Looking for this?" he asked, gesturing with his chopsticks. "I took it off you last night. Along with the comms in your ear and whatever that tiny blade was behind your belt buckle. Cute, by the way." I hissed. "You're digging your own grave, Doc." He shrugged. "Too late for that now." He tossed my earpiece at my feet like a scrap. "Go on. Ask your little friend. I'm sure she's dying to talk to you." I grabbed it, clipped it on, and muttered, "Gigi, I need a goddamn sit rep." "Kai," she whispered. "Shit. Okay. You're gonna want to sit down." "That bad?" "Worse. I didn't know. I thought he was just some rando who was scrubbed clean. No digital trail, no facial recognition hits. But he's not a ghost. He's royalty." I blinked. "What the hell are you talking about? That man in front of you? That's Lucien Giannetti, the Don's son!" I took a step back without meaning to. "You're telling me I brawled with and almost killed the Giannetti heir?" "And," she said tightly, "he marked you." I turned my head, slow, like it weighed 100 pounds. Lucien was sitting there, happily chewing dumplings and licking soy sauce off his thumb like he hadn't just tattooed his name across my goddamn soul. My hand shot up to my shoulder. The bond mark pulsed. He had branded me. I pulled my hand away. Lucien caught the motion, tilted his head. "Ah," he said softly. "So you felt it too." I let out a snarl that tore up my throat. My knees buckled, but I didn't fall. The confusion behind my eyes sharpened into something red-hot. Rage. I pressed my palm to the side of my throat again and felt it there. Warm. Swollen. Claimed. "Gigi," I growled into my mic, voice shaking. "I don't care if he's a Giannetti. I'm going to fucking kill him." "Kai, no! If you kill a Giannetti heir, you're a dead man." "Watch me." "No, Kai. Think. He imprinted on you. You're bonded. That changes everything." I screamed. A full bloody roar that left my throat raw and moved across the room, grabbing Lucien by the collar and slamming him back against the stacked crates. "You ruined me!" I spat, nose inches from his, shaking with adrenaline. "Why? Why did you fucking do it?" Lucien's face twisted. Part fear, part guilt. He didn't fight back. Didn't snarl or flex or posture like most alphas would when confronted. He just looked at me. Like he didn't know how to explain the wreckage he'd made. "I tried to tell you," he said, voice low, rasping. "Last night, when you had me chained. That's what I was trying to explain. I was in..." He swallowed hard, his cheeks flushed with shame. "I was in a rut. I stared. Charged silence. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs like it wanted out. You were what? I didn't think anyone would be here, he mumbled, like he was apologizing to the floor. I came to check on the guy on the patient. I was trying to make myself scarce before it hit full swing. But you were there. You smelled like everything. I shoved him off me with both hands. Hard. Lucien stumbled back, looking like he wanted to say more, but I couldn't take it. Couldn't take the look on his face. The softness in it. The softness in it. I've spent my whole life, I seethed, making sure no one could touch me. No one could own me. You think I worked this hard just to be undone by some soft-eyed alpha with a goddamn savior complex? I regretted the words the second I said them, because I felt it. A pang. Sharp. Center mass. Like someone twisted a blade inside me. Not mine. I looked up and Lucien's face mirrored it. Brow furrowed, jaw tight, eyes wide with something that looked a hell of a lot like hurt. Fuck! I hissed, staggering back. I gripped the edge of a workbench to keep upright. That wasn't supposed to happen. You feel it too, he said quietly. I turned my back on him. I couldn't look at him anymore. I couldn't breathe in the same space without wanting to tear my own skin off. Stay the hell away from me, I muttered. Gigi's voice came through, cautious. Kai, think about this. We don't know what kind of side effects come with... Don't! I hissed. This bond means nothing. I'm not his, and this doesn't change a fucking thing! And with that, I stormed out. 1 week later. If anyone had asked me how my week was going, I'd have told them to eat a bag of glass. I had to relocate to one of my safe houses, off-grid at the edge of town. The last thing I wanted was someone from the family barging in on me like this. I'd spent the last 7 days choking on my own instincts, trying to keep it together while my body played host to some invisible leash I couldn't cut loose. Lucky me, the Don had gifted me some time off. Said I'd been working too hard, whatever the fuck that meant. He had no idea that his long-lost son had sunk his teeth into my neck like I was a goddamn fillet. And thank Christ for that. Because I didn't know how to explain why Lucien Giannetti's scent was burned into my skin like a brand. Why I reeked of alpha musk and lightning. Suppressants? Useless now. I doubled my dose. Tripled it. And all it did was give me a nosebleed and a migraine. No one tells you this part. That when you're marked, it rewires your biology. Turns your carefully contained omega bullshit into a live wire. My body had one goal now. Get to the source. And if I resisted, it punished me for it. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was him. In my head. I'd be sitting still, perfectly calm, and bam! A tidal wave of guilt. Or longing. Or sudden panic. Not mine. Not even close. They came like pulses, echoes. Lucien's feelings were bleeding into mine like some tragic soap opera no one wanted to watch. I'd spent the week throwing every resource I had at the problem. Gigi worked her magic, crawled through dusty corners of the dark web, tapped into suppressed folklore databases, even bribed a nun who apparently had a side hustle in supernatural divorce. We found nothing. Apparently, soul bonds weren't just romanticized fiction. They were real, rare, and stubborn as hell. You couldn't sever them. Not without serious consequences. If you were lucky, you'd just go sterile. If you weren't, well, let's just say the words neural degradation came up a lot. Later that night, it started like the others. Tight chest, dry mouth, skin too hot for my own bones. Except this time, it didn't stop. My heart jackhammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape, and my lungs refused to expand. Meanwhile, every sound around me grew distant, like I was underwater. I tried to stand, and the floor tilted. Then I hit the ground instead. Hard. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't grab my phone. Couldn't even curse. My whole body locked up like it was stuck between fight and flight. Panic attack? No. Worse. It was like withdrawal. Like my body needed something it couldn't have. I gasped, clawing at my shirt, at my skin, burning up from the inside out, and all I could think was his name. Lucien. God help me. I could taste him. The scent of him filled my throat. I could feel him, somewhere out there. And all my traitor instincts screamed the same thing. Go to him. Go to your alpha. Fuck you, I croaked to myself. To fate. To whatever twisted biology had wired this bond into my spine. But my vision went black anyway. Right before I lost consciousness, I heard it. The unmistakable splinter of my front door getting kicked in. Then nothing. The next morning, waking up didn't feel like waking up. It felt like floating. I hadn't slept this good in years. No nightmares, no acid reflux, no phantom guilt whispering from my past. Just peace. I hadn't slept this good in years. No nightmares, no acid reflux, no phantom guilt whispering from my past. Just peace. Which was already suspicious. My first thought? I'm dead. My second? No, too comfortable. I don't deserve comfort. I stretched out, arms moving instinctively toward my shoulder to check the mark. And that's when my hand brushed something warm and breathing. My whole body tensed like a sprung trap. I opened my eyes and vaulted straight out of bed with a curse, dragging half the blanket with me. My spine hit the cold, hard wood, and I scrambled upright. An unfamiliar mumble floated from the bed. Shit, Lucien groaned, voice still clogged with sleep. Can you keep it down? Some of us just saved your life. And then he flopped onto his other side like this was a damn sleepover. I kicked him. Hard. Lucien's body sailed clean off the mattress and slammed into the wall with a crack. He groaned from the floor, holding his ribs. No good deed goes unpunished, he wheezed. What the hell are you doing here? He looked up, rubbing the back of his neck. Relax, you were dying. I came over. I blinked. Dying? Lucien pointed lazily to my neck. I felt it. Through the bond. You were spiraling. Hard. So I kicked in the door, got you stable, and crashed here. You're welcome. I hissed through my teeth. Of course it was the stupid mark. Lucien gave me an annoying-ass grin. Imagine my surprise when I found out you weren't in physical danger. You just missed your alpha. Rage shot through me like a wire to my spine. I grabbed him by the neck and slammed him into the already cracked wall. I don't have an alpha, I snarled. He didn't fight. Just looked me dead in the eye and said, Then you haven't looked in the mirror lately. My grip loosened, just a little. I stepped back, hands in my hair now, pacing like a wild animal. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. My father, rest his cold, violent soul, had built everything for me. A system, a path, a safe harbor in a world that hunted our kind like prey. He'd made sure I'd never be owned, never be claimed, never be marked. And I had ruined all of it in one night with him. Lucien, sensing the shift, finally realizing that I wasn't just being a dick for fun, moved toward me, arms loose at his side like he was approaching a spooked animal. He reached out, fingers brushing my shoulder. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. Because the moment his skin touched mine, it was like someone dimmed the noise in my brain. The panic dulled. The pressure in my chest loosened. For the first time in days, I could breathe. I stared at him. What the fuck did you just do? Lucien blinked, almost sheepish. I don't know. I just wanted to help. I backed away, shaken, my chest still buzzing. This wasn't just a bond. It was a leash. And no matter how far I pulled, it always brought me back to him. Wow. You two are the most dysfunctional soulmates I've ever seen. Gigi's voice blared from the laptop in the corner, making both of us jump. I spun. Gigi? What the hell? How long have you been on? Her bright pink avatar winked from the screen. Long enough to know that forehead cuddle wasn't just for moral support. I cursed and pointed a suspicious finger at the laptop. When did you even log in? Lucien patched me in last night after I helped him locate you, she said cheerfully, twirling a digital lollipop between her fingers. I turned toward Lucien. He was busy tugging a blanket off the couch, shirt riding up over his hip bones like he lived here. He gave me a little wave. I dragged my hand down my face. Unbelievable. Any updates? You find a way to break it yet? Gigi exhaled audibly. Still coming through the data, but nothing clean. Every case I've found ends in 3 ways. Mutual rejection, which rarely works. Magical intervention, which we don't have access to. Or, Lucien's voice rang from the kitchen, interrupting her. I know a way! That got my attention. I moved fast. You what? He was rooting through my fridge. You seriously only have beer in here? Lucien! My tone was warning enough. He turned, bottle in hand, and leaned against the counter. One of us dies, he said simply, like he was discussing the weather. That's the most reliable way I've heard to break a bond. Poof. Gone. There was a beat of silence. Then I surged forward. Get the fuck out of my house before I take you up on that. Lucien chuckled and held his hands up in surrender. I'm just saying, you wanted options. You're not an option! You're a walking liability! I snarled, slamming the fridge shut with my foot. If I wanted to off myself, I wouldn't need a co-star! I mean, he said, sipping the beer, if you ever change your mind. Out! He winked on his way to the door. Don't forget to moisturize that bite mark. You're starting to smell like me again. I slammed the door shut behind him. From the laptop, Gigi let out a low whistle. Well, that's gonna be a hell of a honeymoon. Gigi, I swear! Okay, fine, I'll keep digging. But you better keep your temper in check. Because if your rage spikes again and he feels it, your soul's basically gonna keep edging itself. I needed a goddamn exorcist. 2 weeks later. I learned a lot in the coming days. Against my will, of course. Like the fact that no matter how much I hated it, or him, I couldn't stay away from Lucien Giannetti for too long. Because when I did, my body made damn sure to remind me who I was tethered to. Painfully. Like someone was jabbing a hot poker under my skin. And when we were together, that was a whole other kind of betrayal. My body didn't just ache. It reacted. Every laugh, every offhand brush of his hand, every time he tilted his head and let that little smirk slip. I hated it. I hated how my breath hitched when he was near. I hated how even accidental touches left me reeling for hours. And God, when we actually made contact, it was like my nerve endings forgot who they belonged to. So, for the sake of my remaining sanity, we set a system. Check-ins. Once every 2 days. Strict, controlled, cordial enough that we didn't accidentally combust. Today was check-in day, but there was no Lucien. No knock, no voice, no text. 3 hours passed, still nothing. I called his phone, straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. My stomach twisted, tight and unfamiliar. Gigi, I muttered, pacing my apartment like a caged dog. Ping his phone. Now. She sounded groggy in my earpiece. It's not moved from the warehouse in days. Either your alpha's in monk mode or... Don't! I cut in sharply. Just don't. The silence that followed was louder than anything. I'm going over there. Are you certain he'd be there? You just said the phone hasn't moved. Okay, jeez, she grumbled. Try using the bond. I stopped in my tracks. The what? Gigi sighed. The bond, Romeo. The glorified supernatural Bluetooth you two share now. You've got a direct link to his emotional state. Try tuning in. I'm not a bloody empath. Then fake it. What if he's in danger, Kai? That landed like a sucker punch. Lucien. Hurt. I swallowed and glanced out the window. Rain was starting to fall. How does it work? Different for everyone. Just focus on the mark. Picture it as a two-way mirror. Let yourself feel him. Sounds like spiritual bullshit. Yeah, well, your spiritual bullshit boyfriend might be bleeding out, so get to it. I sighed, leaned back against the wall, and touched the mark on my neck. At first, nothing. Just a thrum of my own heartbeat. Then, a rush. Heat. Agony. Panic. A scream caught in someone else's throat. Lucien. It hit me like a freight train. 30 minutes later. The warehouse door took one kick. I stormed in, gun drawn, eyes scanning. Lucien? No answer. I followed the bond, like a magnet pulling at my ribcage, through the maze of crates and rusted shelves. Then I heard it. Choked breathing, a pained groan. I shoved the backroom door open. Lucien was on the floor, shirt soaked through with sweat, writhing, twitching. Thick black veins crawled along his arms and neck like ink bleeding under skin. Fuck! I dropped to my knees beside him, hands scrambling. Lucien! Lucien! I shook him. Nothing. His eyes rolled back, teeth clenched. I pressed my hands to his cheek, boiling hot. Gigi! I barked into my comms. What the hell is this? Her voice crackled in. What is happening? His veins, Gigi! They're black! He's seizing! He's not responding! She faltered. I don't know. I've never seen this. Kai, maybe it's the bond rejecting something. Maybe that's not helpful! Lucien groaned suddenly, his hand twitching upward, pointing to a dresser. My chest tightened. I ran, yanked the drawer open. Inside, a syringe, unmarked, no instructions, just glowing faintly blue. Are you serious? I hissed. Lucien's body jerked violently behind me. I didn't think. I jabbed it into his thigh and pressed the plunger. Seconds passed. The black veins began to recede slowly. Lucien's chest heaved once, twice. Then finally, he stilled. 2 days later, Lucien was still healing. The fever had broken, but his body wasn't at full strength. And me? I hadn't slept properly in 48 hours. Not that I was counting. I'd been crashing on his damn couch, eating his stale crackers, checking his pulse every couple of hours like a glorified babysitter. Whatever I'd done to find him that night, whatever bond magic I'd accidentally tapped into, had blown the lid off everything. It was no longer just instinct pulling at me. I could feel him. Even unconscious, his mind brushed against mine in strange flashes. Disjointed thoughts, fragments of dreams, images I had no business seeing. So when I felt him stir, when that strange shift in my chest told me he was awake, I got up. 2:04 a.m. I padded across the warehouse apartment barefoot. He was standing by the window, half lit by moonlight, shirtless, pale. His long hair was down, loose around his shoulders. He didn't move when I stepped in. You planning on telling me what the hell happened to you? I asked, quietly. He didn't look at me. Just kept staring out the window like it might blink back at him. I clenched my jaw. You said you'd check in. That was the one thing we agreed on. Still nothing. Damn it, Lucien! My voice sharpened. You don't get to imprint on someone like a fucking animal and then disappear. You don't get to screw up my life and make light of it. I'm not, he started, but I cut him off. You are! You've been treating this like a goddamn meat-cute while I've been unraveling. Do you have any idea what it's like to feel things that aren't yours? To crave someone's presence like it's air? I can't even look at you without... He turned then and kissed me. Soft, certain. No hesitation. It knocked the rest of my sentence out of me. I froze. Then I grabbed his face and kissed him back harder, angrier. Like I wanted to hurt him and hold him at the same time. His hand fisted in my shirt, mine tangled in his hair. The kiss deepened, grew messier, desperate. My back hit the wall, and he pressed into me like he was trying to become part of me. I let him. The bond flared. White hot and overwhelming. I gasped when his lips left mine and moved down my neck. My knees almost buckled. "Lucien," I whispered, voice shaking. He met my eyes and smiled. "Sorry for ruining your life," he said, breathless. I blinked at him, chest heaving, heart clawing at my ribs, and then I kissed him again. The next day, I woke up warm. There was skin under me, over me. "Lucien." I blinked, still half caught between sleep and the memory of his mouth. My head rested against his chest. One of his arms was slung lazily around my waist. And yep, very naked. Both of us. I stared at the ceiling. Fuck. He shifted behind me with a sleepy groan, all lazy muscle and bed heat. "Morning," he mumbled against my shoulder. "You drool when you sleep." I flipped him off without turning. "Charming as always," he laughed. Eventually I sat up, dragging the sheets with me. I didn't feel like being seen. Not yet. "You still haven't told me what happened to you at the warehouse." He stretched behind me, spine popping. "I overdosed on suppressants." I blinked. "Wait, you were on suppressants?" "Long term," he said like it was no big deal. "Couple of years now." I turned to face him fully. "You're an alpha." Lucien raised an eyebrow. Like, yeah, and? I frowned. "Why the hell would you want to suppress that? Most people would kill too." "Exactly," he cut in. "Most people. Not me." He pushed his hair out of his face, looked older for a second, sadder. "I hated it," he said. "The way it made people tense around me. The pressure, the instincts, the whole stupid alpha dominance package." I didn't say anything. "Even as a kid," he went on, "I never felt right in my own skin. The power. It didn't feel like mine. It felt like something waiting to take over. Something I couldn't trust. So I've been trying to kill it." I rubbed a hand over my face. "I spent my whole life trying to be what you are," I muttered. "You're what people respect, what they fear." He looked at me carefully. "And you think I'm lucky? Don't do that." "No," he said. "Seriously, you think being stuck in a body that wants to own everything it touches is lucky?" I didn't answer. Didn't know how to. He softened his voice. That night, I hadn't taken my monthly dose. I was going to strike a deal with Bianchi. I would take a look at his medical condition, and he would hook me up with more suppressants. Then you showed up, and it all went to shit. "Why didn't you stop taking them after you marked me?" I asked, voice low. "You had to know it wasn't just gonna go away. My theory was if I could somehow triple the dosage, it could maybe weaken the bond." "I thought it'd help our situation," he said. He met my eyes. "I needed to try and fix this before my father got involved." I sat back, stunned. "You knew who I was," he nodded. "And how close I am to your father." "Exactly." We were quiet for a moment. Then he added, almost shyly, "You didn't smell like a beta. Or an omega. But definitely not alpha either. You smelled wrong. And my instincts? They couldn't stand it. They needed to know what you were. And then they decided. Decided what?" He didn't answer. Didn't need to. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I picked it up. Unknown number. I answered anyway. "This is Kai." Nothing prepared me for Don Giannetti's voice on the other side of the line. "Kai, I hate to bother you on your time off, but there are matters that need your attention. Report to the compound by Friday. I'll be expecting you. The line went dead. I just sat there, clutching the phone like it might explode. Kai? Lucien's voice was gentle. I couldn't breathe. Not again. I pressed my fist to my chest, tried to inhale. Kai? He moved in front of me, took my shoulders. Hey, look at me! I couldn't. My vision was tunneled, heart pounding. He wrapped his arms around me, pulled me into him. Breathe with me. In, out. Come on, just like that. The panic didn't vanish, but it shrank. Just a little. Enough. I clung to him. The next day, the plan, or lack of one, was unraveling fast. Gigi's voice was sharp and relentless through my laptop speakers. You want to stroll into the Giannetti compound tomorrow without a damn plan? Kai, I know you're hot and lethal and allergic to forethought, but this is a new low. I didn't say I wanted to, I bit back. I said I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. It's just usually a bad one with you. I dragged my hand down my face. Can we table the roast for 2 minutes and... I haven't even started roasting, Gigi snapped. You think Don Giannetti's gonna take the oops I bounded with your emotionally repressed son news well? He'll kill you with a smile and serve your bones as a warning to the next poor bastard who gets handsy with his family name. Lucien, sitting on the kitchen stool and poking at a bowl of cereal, spoke up suddenly. Yeah, about that. Both Gigi and I turned, or in her case, went dead quiet. Lucien cleared his throat. I haven't exactly been upfront about a few things. I narrowed my eyes. Define few. He winced. Look, if my father knows I'm back in Italy, he'll try to have me killed. Silence. You think I'm exaggerating? Lucien asked, eyes flicking between us. That's probably why he wants to see Kai. He must have caught wind I was alive. You're not making any sense, Gigi pointed out. Lucien let out a breath and set the spoon down like it was too heavy. My dad hated that I wasn't like him. I didn't want to fight, didn't want to dominate, didn't want to inherit a legacy soaked in blood. So, when I was 19, I stole a ridiculous amount of scent suppressants from his private stores and vanished. I stared. You ran away? I tried, he said, but it wasn't enough. I couldn't just disappear. So when I found proof about what happened to my mom, he stopped himself. Gigi and I both leaned in. She died in a car crash, I said slowly. Lucien's jaw clenched. That's the story he paid for. The truth is, she found out something she wasn't supposed to. And when she threatened to leave him and take me with her, he didn't finish. He didn't have to. I went to the feds, he said instead. Turned over what I had. Figured it was the only way to bring him down. I sat back. Jesus. Yeah. Only, I underestimated him. The whole thing was a setup. They weren't real agents, just a trap to smoke me out. And you walked right into it, Gigi said, her voice quieter now. Almost didn't walk out, he murmured. It took me 4 years to build a life again. Quiet, careful. Then I meet you, he looked at me, eyes stormy. And boom, everything unravels. I didn't mean to bond you, Kai, I swear. I didn't know what to say. None of us did. Gigi broke the silence. So let me get this straight. We're walking into a sit-down with the one man who would gladly kill his son and skin his omega in the same breath. Lucien didn't blink. Pretty much. I looked at both of them. Well, at least now it's a fair fight. Later that night. It was past midnight when I found myself on the roof again, staring down at the city like it owed me something. The air was sharp enough to bite, the sky too clear for how clouded my head felt. I hadn't lit a cigarette yet, but I held one anyway. Half out of habit, half to keep my hands busy. The door creaked open and Lucien appeared. He was barefoot. Just socks and that stupid gray hoodie he always wore when he wanted comfort. I didn't know why I noticed that. He held out a mug. It's not poisoned, he said quietly. Shame, I muttered, taking it anyway. We stood there in silence for a while, the kind that clung. Every few seconds, I thought he'd say something, but then he didn't. Until he did. I'm scared, he said, voice small. I stiffened. He never talked like that. I keep telling myself it's just the bond he went on, but I don't think it is. I think I'm scared because I've barely gotten to know you, and I already don't want to lose you. I stayed quiet. I didn't trust my voice. I want to know stupid shit, he said. Like what kind of music you play when no one's around, how you take your coffee, whether you snore or sleep like the dead. I want to know if you hum when you cook, or if you bite your nails when you're nervous. I turned to him, lips twitching. You talk too much. He smiled at that. Yeah, it's a flaw. I looked down at my mug. You're not so bad, when you're not ruining my life. He laughed, but it came out too fragile, like the wind might blow it away. Then his fingers brushed mine. I didn't pull back, and before I could tell myself it was a mistake, he leaned in. The kiss was slow at first, careful, like we were scared we'd shatter it. Then it deepened, mouths hungrier, hands sliding beneath fabric, breath stolen in pieces. I let it happen. Maybe even wanted it. Maybe more than I should have. He pulled back just a little. His forehead rested against mine. Don't go. My chest went tight. My brain told me to run. That I was better off before this mess. That the Giannetti heir was the very definition of danger. But my heart, traitorous bastard, stayed rooted. I nodded. Once. Barely. He let out a breath like I'd just saved his life. And then we were kissing again, messier this time. My fingers tangled in his hoodie, his hands clutching my back like I was the only thing anchoring him. The next morning, Lucien was gone. I knew it the second I opened my eyes and didn't feel him beside me. My gut twisted before I even stepped out of the bedroom. Lucien? I called out. Nothing. I checked every room, bathroom, kitchen, even the damn hallway, like maybe he just stepped out for air. Nothing. No hoodie, no sneakers, no dumb smile. Then I saw the note, sitting there on my desk like a bullet waiting to go off. Didn't want to wake you. I'm going back. To him. If he kills me, then you're free. From the bond, from the name, from the mess I made. It's better this way. I won't let you take the fall for me. I'm sorry. I didn't remember grabbing my comms or dialing Gigi. My body moved in instinct. The second her line crackled, I barked, "Tell me you've got eyes on Lucien." A pause. Then, Jesus fuck Kai. You're not gonna like this. My chest squeezed. Where is he? Villa Giannetti. Shit's going down. Internal comms are scrambled, but my back door's holding. He walked in through the front gate like a damn martyr and... Kai? His father's lost it. I don't know how much longer Lucien's got. I was already out the door, gun holstered, bike roaring down narrow streets like the devil himself was chasing me. 20 minutes later. The villa gates were wide open when I arrived. Red flags all around. Inside, it was carnage. Furniture smashed, guards down, blood on marble. And at the center of it, Lucien. Beaten bloody, barely conscious, his hoodie torn, one eye swollen shut. Standing above him like a goddamn emperor of wrath was the man himself. Emilio Giannetti. Boss. Patriarch. My father figure. The one who plucked me from the gutter and forged me into the perfect weapon. He turned at my arrival, eyes blazing, and the second his nose twitched, he went still. His expression fractured, like someone had slapped him with the truth. "The bond," he whispered. His voice cracked. "You?" I didn't answer. I was already at Lucien's side, hands trembling as I checked his pulse. It was weak, but there. Barely. "Lucien," I muttered. "You stupid, noble son of a bitch." Emilio stalked closer, breath hitching. "I gave you everything," he growled. "I gave you more than my own blood. And this is how you repay me?" "You said I was family," I snapped. "Well, congratulations! I'm mated to yours." His eyes went wide. Hurt. Rage. Something close to betrayal. "This is simple," he said coldly. "We end it. Now. He dies, and the stain is erased." I stood, slowly. "You're not serious." "I am," he said. "I've raised you for this, Kai. You were always meant to lead, not him. He's weak, soft, a disgrace. But you're everything I ever needed." He stepped closer, voice lowering to a snake's whisper. This is your final act of loyalty. Kill him, and the Giannetti family is yours." My heart stopped. Behind me, Lucien groaned, barely clinging to consciousness. Blood slicked my palms, my mark burning like fire in my neck. The old man raised a gun and handed it to me. "This is the only way," he said. My fingers wrapped around the handle before I even realized it. This man had raised me, loved me in his own twisted way. But now he was asking me to kill the only person who ever saw me. I looked down at the gun, then at Lucien. Blood slicked his skin, soaking through what was left of that dumb hoodie. His breath came in ragged bursts, like every inhale hurt, and it probably did. His one good eye found mine. There was no fear in it. Just acceptance. Like he'd made peace with dying here, by my hand, because it meant I'd be free. I hated him for it. I hated how calm he looked. I hated how right it felt. Like this was some tragic full circle bullshit the universe had already written down in ink. But most of all, I hated how much I didn't want to lose him. The gun in my hand felt heavier than it ever had before. My aim lowered. Chest, sternum, then just over Lucien's heart. The man I'd trained under. The man who made me everything I am. He was right there. "Do it," Emilio Giannetti said, voice low. "Prove yourself." I could have pulled the trigger and ended it all. The bond, the mess, the war inside me. Instead, I turned and fired. One shot, clear between the eyes. The Don dropped like a marionette with its strings cut. Expression frozen in shock, mouth still halfway to a command he'd never get to finish. Silence followed. For a full second I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then Lucien let out a noise, half a gasp, half a sob. And everything inside me cracked. I dropped the gun, fell to my knees, and wrapped my arms around him. He was warm, bloody, shaking, but alive. Alive. "I've got you," I whispered. "I've got you, okay?" Lucien didn't say anything, just buried his face in my neck. I could feel him trembling, feel the bond singing through us, frantic and terrified and clinging to every beat of his pulse. Then Gigi's voice blasted through my comms. "Kai, move! You've got maybe 5 minutes before the Don's guards get to that floor. Get out now!" My arms tightened around Lucien. My decision was made. There was no going back now. 2 hours later. 2 hours later, we were back in my apartment. I was packing. Frantic hands, half-zipped bags, guns, cash, IDs. I didn't even know what country I was aiming for anymore. Just not here. Lucien sat on the couch, staring into space like he was watching a slow explosion only he could see. "Greece has no extradition treaty with Italy, I think," I muttered, tossing shirts into the bag. "Or maybe France. If we go now, we can catch the night ferry across. Change our names, start over. Silence. That's when I paused. Really looked at him. Hey, I said, softening. You good? Lucien blinked like he'd just come out of a trance. His voice was quiet. I used to daydream about it, you know? My father being gone. For good. I thought it would feel like winning. And now? Now it just feels hollow. I exhaled, rubbing my palm down my face. Lucien, Don't, he said, looking at me. You didn't have a choice. Honestly, for a second, I thought you were actually going to shoot me. I sat on the edge of the coffee table, facing him. You weren't wrong to think it. The Don. He was like a father to me. More than my actual one ever was. He taught me everything I know. I reached up, touching the mark at the side of my neck. Still raw. Still humming. But then again, maybe it's the bond talking, or maybe it's just me, I murmured. Because what we have, it's not something I can compare to anything else. Not even him. Lucien stared at me for a beat, like he was trying to read between my words. So, you're not trying to break the bond anymore? I gave a half shrug. If I were, you'd be dead already. Back at the villa, I had my shot. Lucien blinked, then snorted. That is the most unhinged, yet somehow most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. He leaned in, and I didn't stop him. The kiss was slow and warm and familiar. Like coming home to a house I didn't remember owning. When we finally pulled apart, I held up 2 passports. Greece or France? He took one look and shook his head. Neither, he said. I'm going back. I stared at him. Back? Back where? To the Giannetti compound, he said, like it was obvious. I'm going to take the reins. I stood up too fast. Have you lost your mind? We crawled out of that place through the sewer system. Through shit, Lucien. Literal shit. He nodded. Yeah. And if we run, whoever takes over next will hunt us until the ends of the earth. He rose to his feet and came to stand in front of me. But if I take the throne, no one hunts us. No one questions us. I can protect us. All of us. Lucien placed his hands on my shoulders. I'm not saying we go back right now. I'm saying we plot a hostile takeover while the rest of the family is still reeling. I scoffed. You don't even know how to run a mob. I don't need to, he said, eyes locked on mine. Because I've got you. And everyone respects you, Kai. You know the ins and outs better than anyone. If you're at my side, no one will contest me. I laughed, short and bitter. So now I'm your consigliere. No, he said, stepping closer. You're mine. All in, right? That's what this bond means. I didn't answer. But I didn't walk away either. Hostile takeover it was. 1 year later. My bike rumbled into the Giannetti compound, tires crunching gravel like a warning. A new assistant, couldn't have been older than 20, bowed as I pulled off my helmet. The Don would like to see you immediately, she said. Of course he would. The elevator ride to the penthouse was quiet. Same golden panels, same overdone trim, but the air felt different these days. Less cold, less haunted. I opened the doors and found Lucien, the freaking Don of the Giannetti family, slouched in the kingpin's chair with his feet on the table and a box of dumplings in his lap. He looked up, chewing. You're late. You're still eating those things? I asked, stepping in. He shrugged. Gotta stay on brand. I shook my head, snorted. I'll never get used to seeing you in that chair. He grinned. I'm switching it out for a gamer chair. Please don't. Truth was, I had seen him in that seat 100 times now. Still felt weird. Still felt right. I walked over and snagged a dumpling from his box without asking. He let me. A year. That's how long it had been since I shot the Giannetti patriarch in the head and flipped the family on its axis. Taking over wasn't some clean handoff. We bled for it. A slow, savage war of attrition against the Don's loyalists. Backroom hits, poisoned cigars, burned safe houses. It was Gigi who turned the tide. She cracked their codes, hacked their bankrolls, and fed us every name worth gutting. By the time they realized the house was on fire, we were already sitting in the throne room. But the real change, the big one, wasn't the compound or the power or the fact that people called me Sir now. It was Lucien. He let go. Let the bond be what it was, and we started over. No titles, no expectations. Just long nights, stupid questions, and a lot of dumplings. Funny thing was, even without the bond, I think I still would have fallen for him. Seeing him step into this life, really own it. There were moments I swore I was looking at his father. The calm, the sharpness. The way he would gut someone with a smile. Except Lucien was never cruel. He was terrifyingly good at being in charge, and he still asked me if he was doing it right. I tossed the crumpled paper napkin at his head. So why'd you call me in, oh mighty Don? I saw you this morning. Lucien ducked, circled the desk, and came to a stop right in front of me. Then, without a word, he kissed me. Slow, sure, sweet. When I started to speak, he raised a hand to stop me, then held up 2 passports. You never took that vacation, he said. I blinked. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Lucien, Greece or France? I looked at him. Really looked at him. The boy who once ran from all of this. The man who now ruled it. The idiot who accidentally marked me. The love of my damn life. I grabbed the passports. Greece, I said. But I'm picking the hotel. Deal. We kissed again. And this time, I let it taste like a promise. Conclusion. Funny thing. I used to think being tethered to someone was the worst kind of death. I spent years running from it. From the idea that I could ever belong to anyone but myself. I buried instinct. Suppressed it with enough meds to knock out an elephant. I thought that made me strong. But now, 2 years out from the blood, chaos, and a war we survived by sheer stubbornness, I can't picture my life without being bonded to that smug, sharp-eyed bastard. Lucien. Still steals my food, still leaves wet towels on the bed, still makes god-awful puns when he's tired. And somehow, still the best thing that's ever happened to me. Gigi finally visited in person a while back. Walked into the compound like she owned it. Sunglasses, legs for days, that hacker smirk on full blast. I spent the first 60 seconds trying to compute how someone that pretty ever lived behind a screen. She called me rude. I said I was stunned. We called it even. And yeah, we did the thing. The real one. Bond ceremony. Wedding in Greece. Just a few people we trusted. Gigi officiated. Don't ask me how, either took a course online or hacked the Vatican. Could go either way. There was a time I didn't think any of this was in the cards for me. Not with the life I lived. Not with the blood on my hands. But now, I've got a husband with messy hair and a killer poker face. A bond I wouldn't break for anything. And peace. Brief sometimes, but real. I'm happy. Who would have thought? The end. So tell me, if you had to choose between fate and freedom, would you risk everything for someone who ruined your life? Thanks for watching! Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome!